Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says a peace deal between Washington and the Taliban is expected to be signed on the 29th of February. In a statement, Pompeo said the two sides have been engaged in talks to facilitate a political settlement to the Afghan conflict. He said the move will reduce the U.S. presence in the region. The Taliban have also confirmed the signing of the deal on 29 February. In a tweet, a Taliban spokesperson, Sohail Shaheen, said the agreement will end the foreign occupation in the country. According to the Afghan National Security Council, the violence reduction period will start tonight. It said the government hopes the plan would open the way for a ceasefire and intra-Afghan talks. The Taliban have previously refused to speak directly to the Afghan government, which they denounced as a U.S. puppet. The plan was set by the U.S. and the Taliban as a precondition to signing a peace deal. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has asked France and Germany to provide support in ending a humanitarian crisis in Syria. In a phone call with French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Erdogan said attacks in Idlib must be stopped. A humanitarian crisis has unfolded in Idlib as the Russian-backed Syrian forces presses on with an offensive in the region. The assault has forced nearly 1 million people to flee their homes. Turkey says it is determined to prevent a fresh influx of displaced people, adding to the 3.6 million Syrian refugees it already hosts. A Kremlin spokesman said the possibility of holding a summit on Syria is under discussion. The chief of the Libyan National Army, Khalifa Haftar, says he is ready for a conditional ceasefire in the capital Tripoli. Haftar's remarks come after the military representatives of both the warring parties resumed the UN-brokered talks in Geneva. In an interview, Haftar said truce could be reached if Turkey agrees to stop supplying weapons to the government of national accord. Meanwhile, the UN envoy for Libya says the political solution for the conflict-torn country is extremely difficult but possible.
Once the expression of discontent had been made, we couldn't lose any of our precious time in Geneva. And I'm very happy that both delegations came back this morning with even more energy towards finding a deal.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was the first one to cast his vote. China has commended Pakistan's progress in improving its counter-terror financing system. Beijing says Islamabad's efforts have been recognized by a majority of Financial Action Task Force's members at the latest plenary meeting in Paris. China said Beijing and other member countries of FATF will continue to support Pakistan in its anti-money laundering efforts. The Paris-based financial watchdog is holding a 5-day plenary meeting on international terror financing. It will decide on whether or not to remove Islamabad from its grey list. Moving on to China, where 118 people have died in the last 24 hours from the new coronavirus outbreak, bringing the death toll to 2,236. The National Health Commission says 889 more people have been tested positive for the infection, increasing the total number over 75,000. More in this report.
People in China are becoming hopeful with a decline in the number of new coronavirus infections. The World Health Organization says a continued slide of new cases in the country is encouraging. The global health body says it's time to fight the COVID-19 virus while it is still manageable.
This is the time to attack the virus while it is actually manageable, small number of cases in the rest of the world. If we don't hit hard now using the window of opportunity, we might face with a serious problem.
After South Korea's first fatality from the virus, the government is deploying its military medical staff and providing temporary isolation facilities. South Korea's Prime Minister Chung Seo-kyun says he's listing 2 cities as special care zones.
The government will take special measures by designating the Daegu and Cheongdo areas as special care zones, as a sudden hike in the number of the confirmed cases have been reported from there.
Regional leaders have pledged to pool resources to overcome the problems caused by the outbreak.
Saudi Arabia says it has shot down several ballistic missiles fired by the Yemen's Houthi rebels at the civilian areas in the kingdom. In a statement, coalition spokesperson Colonel Turki al-Maliki said the projectiles were fired from the Yemeni capital, Sana'a. Al-Maliki said the coalition will continue using decisive measures to protect civilians from such attacks. He said the attack was a violation of international humanitarian law. The Houthis have not claimed the responsibility for the attack. Yemen has been beset by violence and chaos since 2014 when the rebels overran much of the country, including the capital, Sana'a. Ireland's Prime Minister Leo Varadkar has resigned after his party, Fine Gael, conceded a defeat in the general election. Varadkar will remain an interim PM while the country's three main parties work through the coalition talks to appoint a successor. The session of the Parliament's lower house was adjourned till March the 5th after it failed to elect a new premier. No party secured a majority in the February 8th election. Sinn Féin leader Mary-Lou McDonald received the most votes with the approval of 45 members. 80 votes are needed of the 160 seats to be elected Ireland's Prime Minister. The country's main opposition party, Fianna Fáil, is now the largest party in the Parliament on 38 seats. A 70-year-old prayer leader has been stabbed inside a London mosque in an apparent Islamophobic attack. Police said the suspect has been arrested and a probe is underway. Police said the prayer leader was treated by paramedics before being taken to the hospital. Officials say they have increased patrols around the area to provide reassurance to the worshippers and locals. An eyewitness said the attacker was restrained by the worshippers.
You know, Imam, he start to pray fast. We don't know what's going on. We said, why you pray fast? You know? And then we heard, oh, wow, you know, screaming. Mu'addin was screaming. And then we see the blood, the knife was his shoulders.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said he was deeply saddened by the stabbing and his thoughts are with the victim and all those affected. Now moving on, the US agency in charge of the secure communication for the White House has been hit by cyber attacks. The US Department of Defense says computer systems controlled by the Defense Information Systems Agency has been hacked. The breach exposed the personal data of 200,000 people. Officials say the department's networks are under attack each day, but it maintains an active posture to thwart them. In a statement, the cyber agency, DISA, said it has begun notifying everyone that has been affected. It said there is no evidence of their information being misused. The agency oversees military communications, including calls for the US President Donald Trump. It is also responsible for military cybersecurity and sets up communication networks in combat zones. Bolivia's Supreme Electoral Tribunal has disqualified former President Evo Morales from running for the Senate in May's general election. Morales has been exiled in Argentina since resigning as the president. Head of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, Salvador Romero, said Morales does not meet residency requirements. Responding in a tweet, Morales said the decision is a blow to democracy. Romero said all the qualifying candidates must continue their campaigns.
The Supreme Electoral Court invites all plaintiffs to contribute to a smooth development of the campaign. The election on May 3rd is crucial for the democratic future of Bolivia.
Bolivia's new presidential and the parliamentary elections are scheduled for May the 3rd. Now moving on, the UN Migration Agency says a boat carrying 90 people which set out from Libya has gone missing in the Mediterranean. This comes amid criticism of lack of European Union rescue missions in the Mediterranean Sea. A crisis hotline alarm phone passed the SOS signals to Italian, Maltese and Libyan Coast Guard officials. The Libyan Coast Guard took 5 hours to respond to the urgent request and said it dispatched 2 ships to search for the missing vessel. Alarm phone lost contact with the boat over 2 hours later when it heard people panicking, saying the engine had failed. They said migrants were slipping into the sea as water flooded the sinking vessel. In Zambia, millions of people are facing starvation due to severe drought. The country is struggling to survive the high temperatures, rising twice as fast as the global mean. More in this report.
Lizzie walked hours to fetch this food aid so she could feed her 4 children at least one meal a day.
Sometimes we eat once in a day. Sometimes when we find some other sources, we eat twice in a day.
A severe drought is gripping the area around Simumbwe in southern Zambia. Humanitarian groups are handing out maize and beans, the first distribution in the area. Food shortages also affect schooling.
I've got 70 pupils in my class. Just because of this hunger, there is absenteeism. Like for today, there were only 30 pupils in my class out of 70.
It rained recently, but don't be fooled by the greenery. Crops have been failing for years. 45 million people are at risk of famine in southern Africa, according to the UN's World Food Programme. 4 hours drive east lies the Kariba Dam, which produces around 40% of Zambia's electricity. But now, because of the drought, the turbines can't produce enough power. From a daily meal to school attendance and economic growth, climate change has spiraling effects that are hard to stop.
In the US, new Baby Yoda toys from Walt Disney's hit TV show The Mandalorian are set to reach the shelves in March. The company announced the launch after seeing high demand and success in the 2019 holiday shopping season. More in this report.
Range of cuddly, frog-eating, Baby Yoda talking toys have been unveiled just in time for the 2020 Toy Fair in New York City. The Disney character, originally called The Child, is the breakout star of Star Wars spin-off show The Mandalorian.
This character known as The Child was immediately a hit, and what we're excited about today is to roll out products related to The Child for the very first time.
Fans have clamoured for toys and merchandise since the show's debut in November. The new toys include a range of Baby Yoda bikes, water bottles and baseball caps, and most winning of all, a slow-blinking, ear-wiggling Baby Yoda doll.
I'm particularly excited about these little guys. They're called bouncy collectible figures, and what they do is they take key scenes from the show.
The Mandalorian's second season is marked for release in October. Product pre-sales began last year, while customers are expected to receive their orders soon.
President Donald Trump has ridiculed the Academy Award-winning South Korean film Parasite. Taking a dig at the Oscars, Trump mocked Parasite's Best Picture win by imitating the Academy Awards presenter.
In a bizarre correlation, Trump said, despite trade issues with South Korea, the Academy gave the year's Best Film Award to Seoul. During his campaign rally, Trump dismissed actor Brad Pitt, who won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Pitt had wittily criticized the establishment for giving less time to Trump's former advisor John Bolton in the impeachment trial.
By the way, how bad were the Academy Awards this year? Did you see it? And the winner is a movie from South Korea. What the hell was that all about? We got enough problems with South Korea with trade. On top of it, they give him the best movie of the year. Was it good? I don't know.
Responding to Trump's jabs, Parasite's distributor said the president's remarks are no surprise because he cannot read.
It's time for a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. The airline industry is expected to lose nearly $30 billion of revenue this year from the coronavirus outbreak. The International Air Transport Association says demand for the air travel will fall for the first time in more than a decade. IATA says airlines in Asia-Pacific region could lose nearly $28 billion of revenue this year. In a statement, the global airline industry body said the companies outside Asia stand to lose revenue of $1.5 billion. IATA said 2003's SARS virus was responsible for a 5% fall in demand for the air travel in the Asia-Pacific region. Stock markets across Europe are trading lower as investors continue to monitor latest developments following the coronavirus outbreak. Major stocks are losing steam as they fail to maintain rally. London's FTSE 100 has lost over 0.5% after publisher Pearson's shares dropped over 1%. CAC 40 in Paris is trading over 0.5% lower as automobile manufacturer Renault declined nearly 3%. Frankfurt's DAX has lost a fraction as Allianz shares dropped nearly 1%. In Asia, Seoul's Kospi closed about 1.5% lower as shares of chipmaker SK Hynix dropped around 1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost over 1% after shares of conglomerate Ping An Insurance shed over 0.5%. Shanghai Composite gained a fraction after Beijing said resumption of economic activity is accelerating after a coronavirus-led shutdown. Meanwhile, international Brent crude oil price has lost over 1% amid slowing global economic activity. And now the weather situation from around the globe. That's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.news. Thanks for watching.